Everyone got their mics to red, please. I'm going to call this meeting to order. For everyone that cares to, please stand for an opening prayer and pledge of allegiance. Let us pray. We gather today with open hearts and minds. Grant us wisdom in our discussions, unity in our decisions, and clarity in our purpose. May we serve our community with integrity and care. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So thank you everyone for being here this evening. At this time, I'm going to go ahead and open up the citizens' participation. So anyone that is wishing to speak to anything that is not on the agenda, please come forward. Seeing that there are none, I'm going to go ahead and close citizens' participation. Move on to a fun portion of the evening. We have a proclamation this evening for our Animal Control Center. So here recently, I don't know if anyone has heard the news, but our Republic Animal Control Center has been named Shelter of the Year by the Missouri Animal Control Association. That was a lot to put in there, so I apologize for that. Hopefully I got most of that right on the second time. So this is an incredible achievement. Your unwavering dedication and leadership in transforming our Republic Animal Control Center is absolutely amazing. I've been here for a while, and so I've got to see it from when you guys were down at the waste station, and it was a building that you didn't even really know what it was other than barking dogs, and then where you're at now, it's really awesome. So it's great to see that, and it's great to see what you've done and what your leadership has brought to that. So thank you very much. And we do have a proclamation for you here this evening. I'm going to go ahead and read this proclamation for you, and then I'm going to present it to you, if that's okay. Unless you want to come up here and... It didn't look like it, so I'll read it, and we'll come down here and I'll present it to you. How's that? Perfect. It's totally up to you. If you're comfortable, I'm comfortable. Okay.
Way to go,
Sounds like a
Cheyenne.
yes.
Take the lead there.
That's right. Hey, we win an award. We want to stand up and sing.
And today's International Pugs Day, so my dogs are watching at home too. So, proclamation for the Animal Control Shelter of the Year. Whereas the Republic Animal Control Center was opened on September the 29th, 2020, significantly increasing the capacity and impact made by the Republic Animal Control Division. And whereas the Animal Control Division is responsible for capturing animals at large and investigating allegations of animal abuse and neglect. And whereas the Animal Control Division also serves the community by providing special presentations and public relations at school and civics groups. And whereas the center's purpose is to provide care, comfort, and compassion to animals in need while working to find them forever families and loving homes. And whereas the division promotes and provides resources, education, and programs to the community supporting this goal, including the Foster to Adopt program, the Barn Cat program, and the Animal Care Pantry. And whereas the Missouri Animal Control Association named the Republic Animal Control Center as the Shelter of the Year. And whereas the City of Republic acknowledges the dedication and hard work of the Animal Control Division in protecting the animals of the community. Now therefore, I, Eric Franklin, Mayor of the City of Republic in the state of Missouri, congratulate the staff of the Animal Control Center in this outstanding accomplishment. In testimony whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and affixed the seal of the City of Republic this 15th day of October, 2024.
You don't want me in the mug shot.
Duck, David, duck.
I'm in the media now.
See your audience scattered.
I'm in the media now.
Behind me.
Diane. We just want to say thank you. It's been a long progress. I've been here for 12 years. Cheyenne started as a volunteer, transitioned to an employee. We have 2 other employees that unfortunately couldn't make it tonight. One's doing a senior night and the other one's out of town right now. So, but we all appreciate all the support we've gotten from city council, the mayor, the citizens, everybody. We couldn't have done any of this without all of you guys. So we just really appreciate it and thank you very much. And we hope to have more stuff in the future. When we were at the conference just a couple weeks ago, we learned some other different stuff that we may want to try in the future and do stuff like that and go from there. So that's where we're at.
Excellent. Thank you very much, and congratulations once again. Now, moving on to our consent agenda, I welcome the council to ask any questions or comments about items number 2 through 6 on the agenda. Seeing that there are none, I need a motion and a second for the approval of the consent agenda.
Motion.
Second. We've got a motion and a second. All of those in favor?
Aye.
All of those opposed? Are there any abstentions? Motion carries 6-0-0. Board, commission, and committee schedules. We have a city council budget workshop on October the 29th at 10:30 at the Builds Building. Planning and zoning meeting will be November the 4th, 2024. We have a city council meeting on November the 5th, 2024. A Board of Adjustment meeting on November the 7th, 2024 has been canceled. We have another city council workshop on November the 12th, 2024 at 11, and that will be at the Builds. And then we have a city council meeting on November the 19th, 2024. Sounds like we're going to be busy. Old business and tabled items, there is none, and so we're going to move on to new business. Item number 7, I need a motion and a second for the first reading of Bill 24-57 by title only, please.
Motion.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All of those in favor?
Aye.
All of those opposed? Are there any abstentions? Motion carries 6-0-0. Laura will read the ordinance by title.
An ordinance of the City Council approving the final plat of Wilson's Valley Phase 2 subdivision.
Thank you, Laura. And we have Mr. Tabor here this evening to give us an overview.
Good evening, Chris Tabor, Principal Planner. The City of Republic Builds Department has received an application from Stu Stinger on behalf of Wilson's Valley LLC for the final plat of Wilson's Valley Phase 2. The final plat of Wilson's Valley Phase 2 will legally divide approximately 28.67 acres of land into 81 lots zoned as Wilson's Valley Planned Development District. The final plat will also convey the dedication of associated right-of-way, utility, and stormwater easements to the city. The final plat includes approximately 5,156 linear feet of new street and 4,943 linear feet of new sidewalk. The final plat of Wilson's Valley Phase 2 substantially conforms to the development plan for Wilson's Valley Planned Development District as approved by City Council on May 3rd, 2022, in addition to the requirements of the City Code Chapter 410 Subdivision Regulations and Article 5 Major Subdivision Final Plat. Staff is recommending approval of the final plat of Wilson's Valley Phase 2.
Thank you, Chris. Do we have any questions from council? Seeing there is none, we do not have any citizens' comments this evening. Pursuant to 3.10 F of the Charter, staff is requesting the second reading of this ordinance during tonight's meeting. I now need a motion and a second to approve the second reading of Bill 24-57 to be held during tonight's meeting.
Motion.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All of those in favor?
Aye.
All of those opposed? Are there any abstentions? Motion carries 6-0. Item number 8, I need a motion and a second for the first reading of Bill 24-58 by title only, please.
Motion. Second.
Got a motion and a second. All of those in favor?
Aye.
All of those opposed? Are there any abstentions? Motion carries 6-0-0. Laura will read the ordinance by title, please.
An ordinance of the City Council vacating approximately 1,920 square feet of right-of-way along East Green Tree Street, VACA 24002.
Thank you, Laura. We've got Mr. Tabor back.
Good evening again. So the next two items on the agenda are connected. They're parts of vacation requests that involve the same roads right-of-way. So I'll cover them very briefly. The Buildings Department's requesting the vacation of approximately 1,920 square feet of East Greenfield Street. The existing right-of-way was acquired as part of a developer's agreement approved by City Council on August 29th, 2023. Upon the final construction of the street, during the infrastructure building phase, the alignment of the street was changed. So what they're looking to do is we're looking to vacate the right-of-way we didn't use, and we've already gone towards taking steps tonight with the final plat and a separate dedication to take the right-of-way that we needed. The street shifted to the north. You can kind of see the gray on the southern portion of the road there is the right-of-way that we're vacating tonight. The piece on the left is the one we're talking about now, and the piece on the right will be the next one. The necessary right-of-way present in this phase was not the necessary right-of-way present in this phase that was not previously acquired through the developer's agreement was conveyed through a separate dedication of right-of-way to the city. The vacated portion of the road will be returned to the adjacent property owner and incorporated into the common area for the subdivision. Build staff is requesting approval of the requested street vacation.
Thank you, Mr. Tabor. Do we have any questions from council? Seeing that there is none, we have no citizens' comments for this evening. Pursuant to 3.10F of the charter, staff is requesting the second reading of this ordinance during tonight's meeting. So I need a motion and a second to approve the second reading of Bill 24-58 to be held during tonight's meeting.
Motion.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All of those in favor?
Aye.
All of those opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries 6-0-0. Moving on to item number 9. I need a motion and a second for the first reading of Bill 24-59 by title only, please.
Motion. Second.
Got a motion and a second. All of those in favor?
Aye.
All of those opposed? Are there any abstentions? Motion carries 6-0-0. Laura will read the ordinance by title, please.
An ordinance of the City Council vacating approximately 3,586 square feet of right-of-way along East Green Tree Street, VACA 24003.
Thank you, Laura. We've got Mr. Tabor here.
So again, the second item related to this one, we're looking at the piece on the right of that southern portion there, which is in phase 2. So requires a separate vacation. The Buildings Department's requesting the vacation of approximately 3,586 square feet of East Green Tree Street. The existing right-of-way was acquired as part of a developer's agreement approved by City Council on August 29th, 2023. Upon final construction, Green Tree Street required an adjustment to the planned alignment. The vacation will provide back to the owner the portion of the unused property located within Wilson's Valley Phase 2. Necessary right-of-way present in this phase that was not previously acquired through the developer's agreement will be conveyed through the final plat passage of Wilson's Valley Phase 2, discussed a couple of items ago. The vacated portion of the road will be returned to the adjacent property owner and will be incorporated into the common area for this subdivision. The Buildings Department recommends approval of the requested street vacation.
Thank you, Mr. Tabor. Do we have any questions from council? Seeing there is none, and we have no citizens' comments on this for this evening, pursuant to 3.10F of the charter, staff is requesting the second reading of this ordinance during tonight's meeting. I need a motion and a second. Excuse me. I need a motion and a second to approve the second reading of Bill 24-59 to be held during tonight's meeting.
Motion.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All of those in favor?
Aye.
All of those opposed? Are there any abstentions? Motion carries 6-0-0. Moving on to item number 10. I need a motion and a second for the first reading of Bill 24-60 by title only, please.
Motion.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All of those in favor?
Aye.
All of those opposed? Are there any abstentions? Motion carries 6-0-0. Laura will read the ordinance by title, please.
An ordinance of the City Council approving amendment of the zoning code and official map by changing the classification of approximately 28.88 acres of property located at the 7200 block of West Farm Road 170 from Kirkwood Estates Plan Development District PDD 23005 to Kirkwood Estates Plan Development District PDD 24003.
Thank you, Laura. We've got Mr. Tabor back, just hanging out tonight.
This is my last one. The application tonight is seeking to make a change to the existing development plan for the subject property. This site is the site of an existing PDD by the same name, which was last approved on October 17th, 2023. The existing plan includes 50 lots that meet the standards of the medium density single family residential R1M zoning, and 6 lots meeting those of general commercial C2. The new development plan that you see before you, if you go one more, please, Michael. The new one, the general design and layout for the infrastructure and roads remain the same, but the only substantial change is one to the density of the residential portion of the subdivision. The new development would put the residential portion of the project in line with the city's high-density single-family zoning district. So those lots of residential to the north there, those would go from basically R1M to R1H effectively. More specifically, the new plan proposes 11.72 acres over 59 residential lots meeting the standards of high-density single-family residential R1H zoning, and 10.26 acres over the 6 commercial lots that meet the standards of general commercial C2 zoning. The total impact of the change will allow for 9 additional lots in the residential portion of the PDD from the previous plan, for a total of 59 residential lots. To give you an idea of the density that we're talking about, what they're requesting is effectively 5 lots per acre. Our medium zoning, our residential single-family medium density zoning, R1M, allows for 4.82. So it's very close. It's a little higher, obviously, than what's allowed by R1M, but it's not, the more than 6.5 that we allow in the R1H. The applicant's plan would put them at 5 lots per acre, just above the threshold of R1M. The development plan also includes a secondary arterial street with 80 feet of right-of-way that will become a portion of Bailey Avenue. Also still required is the construction of a new right-in, right-out entrance at 60 with that secondary arterial where they intersect, as you can see on the leftmost portion of that plan. All infrastructure costs, the plan also includes connectivity with the existing stub out in Old Town at the Kerr Place via East Peaceful Street. You can see it going to the north there into the neighborhood. All infrastructure costs, including new streets and intersection with US 60, are constructed at the developer's expense. The item was approved unanimously by the Planning and Zoning Commission, and staff fielded no concerns for the project during the public notice period. There was no opposition to the application at the public hearing. This development plan meets the adopted plans of the city as well as the municipal code. If approved, the next steps for this project would be to begin the permitting and design of infrastructure for the project, which would go through the review process to ensure conformance with the city's codes. Staff is recommending approval of this application.
Thank you, Mr. Tabor. Do we have any questions from council? Seeing there is none, we do have a speaker here this evening speaking in favor of this PDD, Mr. Kyle Kirk. If you'd like to come up here, please.
My name is Kyle Kirk. Address is 7295 West Farm Road 170 here in Republic. I own Kirk's Collision Center. I've been in Republic, a business for 18 years. This is my first kind of foray into a residential development. I happened to purchase the lots before we knew Amazon was coming in, so I got a good deal, and it's been kind of a work in progress to do this neighborhood to see if I could try my hand at some development as well. I know there's been some frustrations with the rezoning to high density because we're not looking to bring a lot more rentals in, and kind of my vision for this neighborhood is a nicer subdivision with custom spec homes. I'm in talks with Blake Cantrell to build another neighborhood like the Woods, so they will be nicer, higher end homes that would fit that density. I was very nervous about asking for high density because of the kind of the scariness of high density, but I'm not looking for another mobile home park. I don't want necessarily starter homes. I'm trying to build kind of a legacy for me and my son in Republic, my family. And, you know, I want something we can be proud of, and I want Republic to be proud of it as well. So I'm not looking for shoebox, fully sided homes in a neighborhood. You know, just kind of my vision for it. I want to leave as many of the big trees as possible and just make it a good part of Republic. So I would really appreciate you guys voting to approve yes on this. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Kirk. Does council have any questions for staff before we? No questions from council. Remember, this is an ordinance, so if you have any questions, make sure that you get with staff before our next meeting. Moving on to item number 11, I need a motion and a second for the first reading of Bill 24-61 by title only, please.
Motion. Second.
Got a motion and a second. All of those in favor?
Aye.
All of those opposed? Are there any abstentions? Motion carries 6-0-0. Laura, will you please read the ordinance by title?
An ordinance of the City Council approving amendment of the zoning classification of 3.10 acres of real property located at 3155 East Sawyer Road from Eclipse Event Center Plan Development District, PDD, to Light Industrial, M1.
Thank you, Laura. And we have Mr. Ruiz here this evening.
Good evening, Patrick Ruiz, Associate Planner. On behalf of the city is applying to rezone approximately 3.10 acres of property located at 3155 East Sawyer Road from Eclipse Event Center PDD to Light Industrial M1. The site is currently vacant, but was the previous site of the Brookline South Lift Station prior to it being moved within the Hankins Farm subdivision to the west. The property is adjacent to the aforementioned Hankins Farm PDD to the west, north, and east. The neighboring properties within the PDD are permitted the same land uses allowed in the M1 district. In addition, across Sawyer Road, there are M1 zone parcels that include distribution warehousing facilities. City water and sewer systems have the capacity to serve the proposed rezone since there's a 15-inch gravity sewer main that runs to the property and an 8-inch and 12-inch water main in close proximity to it. The property would have access to the secondary arterial Sawyer Road, but the traffic impact study was waived for this application. However, if the city may reserve the right to require one if there were to be like a commercial land use application in the future, so during the building permitting process phase. The subject parcel does contain special flood hazard areas, so any future development would have to require compliance with the city's floodplain regulations. And then city staff believes that this application is consistent with the comprehensive plan and trend of development in the general vicinity, compatible with the surrounding land uses, and can be adequately served by municipal facilities. Based on this information, city staff recommends approval of the application.
Thank you, Mr. Ruiz. Do we have any questions from City Council? Seeing that there is none, we have no citizens comment on this evening. Remember, this is an ordinance, so if you have any questions, please get with staff before our next meeting. Moving on to item number 12. I need a motion and a second for the first reading of Bill 24-62 by title only, please.
Motion. Second.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Are there any abstentions? Motion carries 6-0-0. And Laura will read the ordinance by title, and it's a long one.
It's long. An ordinance of the City Council amending Title IV Land Use, Article 405-2, Destination of Districts and General District Regulations, Chapter 405 Zoning Regulations, Section 405.030, Districts Enumerated, Article 405-3, Zoning Districts, Use and Regulations, Section 405.148, MSD, Main Street District, Article 405-4, Height and Area Requirements, Exceptions and Modifications, Section 405.540, Height and Area Regulations, Established Chart, and 405.545, Height and Area Exceptions and Conditions, Article 405-6, Off-Street Parking and Loading Requirements, Section 405.570 generally, Article 405-7, Additional District Provisions, Section 405.620, exterior lighting standards. Article 405.10, landscaping and screening. Section 405.750, applicability. 405.770, landscaped area requirements, and 405.810, screening requirements of the Municipal Code of the City of Republic, Missouri.
Great job, Laura.
Need some water after that?
I do.
Thank you, Laura. And we have Mr. Ruiz here this evening to give us an overview on this one as well.
Good evening again. The consideration of proposed amendments brought to you tonight are specifically related to Section 405.148 MSD Main Street District and any other additional sections. I won't list them out again, but that regulate such district in Chapter 405 zoning regulations. So in general, implementing a new zoning district is needed when there's two challenges presented within a defined geographical area. So those challenges would include any existing uses and structures are unable to conform to the current standards or non-conforming uses. And future development to the existing zoning district standards would drastically change the unique character of the area. So the proposed Main Street District amendments address both of those challenges for the downtown Republic and specifically outline kind of 4 goals when we did this. So the first one was the intent, and we wanted to make sure it implements a district that accommodates mixed-use developments normally found in a downtown area. So those would include like retail and office on the first floor and then residential on like above floors. The other one is physical characteristics of the area. So we wanted to provide a zoning district that conforms with the existing structures while providing flexibility for future development. Also, it provides a district that promotes an active streetscape with a pedestrian-friendly shopping environment by limiting off-street parking requirements and requiring construction and preservation of new or added sidewalk that's already present on the Main Street corridor. It also preserves the existing character of the downtown area by allowing buildings to be abutted up to the public right-of-way by limiting certain setback requirements and limiting landscaping requirements or buffering. The third one is updating existing related regulations by ensuring new exterior lighting, off-street parking or landscaping is provided in accordance with the standards of the municipal code, and requiring screening for new developments to reduce the amount of nuisances to adjacent properties with less intense zoning designations. So any of those that are like single-family or two-family residential that's in close proximity to the downtown area. And then lastly, I wanted to point your direction to the exhibit on the screen. I wanted to provide a visual as how we define what the downtown area is. This is super important so that we can guide people as to where you can use the Main Street District so that somebody couldn't just zone it anywhere throughout the city where it's not appropriate or compatible with the other land uses. So as you can see, it's centered around the Main Street corridor. And then it has the boundaries with the following streets of Anderson Street along the north, Pine Avenue along the east, Elm Street along the south, and then Walnut Avenue along the west. Lastly, there were some other amendments that were done that were clerical in error, that had some small changes that we need to make sure when we touch those sections that help out with future regulations throughout the whole chapter. So ultimately, there's kind of 3 things that I wanted to point out. So one, any of those property owners that own those buildings, they're currently non-conforming. So if they were to be burnt down more than 50%, they wouldn't be able to build it again like that because they don't have a zoning that works for them. Secondly, if a new developer wanted to develop on a vacant piece of land, they would have to build something that would drastically change the character of the area. And then thirdly, if this were to be approved, city staff is bringing up other rezones of like city properties that's in the downtown area to this Main Street District. So you should expect that pretty recently or pretty soon in the future. So based on that, staff recommends approval of the reference amendments in the outlined sections.
Thank you, Mr. Ruiz. Do we have any questions from council? Seeing there are none. We don't have any citizens' comments from this evening, so if you have any additional questions, please make sure you get the staff before our next meeting. Moving on to number 13. So number 13, we have a public hearing of the City Council regarding approving a petition for the creation of a community improvement district. At this time, I'm going to open the public meeting, and we have Mr. Curtis Jared speaking in favor, representing the CID.
Yes.
Mr. Jared, how are you this evening?
Good.
Thank you for being here.
I'm representing the ownership group. The CID that we're asking for here is to connect, can't think of the name of the street, back behind Aldi and everything. Anyway, to connect that all the way over to the Town East Center, and then also to take that, to loop that around to connect back to whatever the other street is. Oakwood. So what we've done is we're in the process of working with the current property owner in order to purchase the retail center, the 2 lots, and then they've got the remaining land there. And part of the deal is they want to make their land more accessible to develop in the future. So part of the agreement is that we would work with the city to put in the street, so that way we can bring more development. The challenge with the front 2 lots is we don't have direct access onto Highway 60 there. So this will be able to bring them off at either stoplight, come around the back, access it that way, and then also bring it across the front of the retail center. And we do have interested users, but the access is part of the problem. There is a lot of interest in Republic, and so we've had, since we're developers, we've had a lot of people ask us to find stuff in Republic. So this is what we've zeroed in on as far as what few available lots are available on the frontage there. We've done a lot of these CIDs in a lot of other communities. They've always been very highly successful. We do everything that we say we're going to do. It does charge an extra 1-cent sales tax to help reimburse for the cost of the infrastructure that we put in, and then we donate obviously the street over to the city. But then that's also paid for with the additional retailers or tax generating users, the users that we bring in. And we've done this. We've done it in Monette, we've done it in Lebanon, we've done it in Coffeyville, we've done it in Springfield. We've done it all over, and it's actually gone over very well, and it's actually helped spur additional users and good development that's been good job paying users and good tax generating tenants that have been beneficial. Be happy to give any references with any of the cities we worked with. So that's essentially what I'm asking for tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Jared. Do we have any questions from council? No questions? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Jared. Do we have any additional citizens in the audience this evening want to speak on this? In favor or against? Seeing that there are none, I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing. Moving on to item number 14. I need a motion and a second for the first reading of Bill 24-63 by title only, please.
Motion. Second.
Got a motion and a second. All of those in favor?
Aye.
All of those opposed? Are there any abstentions? Motion carries 6-0-0. Laura will read the ordinance by title.
An ordinance of the City Council approving a petition for the creation of a community improvement district, establishing the Farm Road 93 Community Improvement District as a political subdivision of the state of Missouri, and directing the city clerk to notify the Missouri Department of Economic Development of the creation of the district.
Thank you, Laura. We have Ms. Haynes here this evening to give us an overview.
Good evening. Karen Haynes, Community Development Director. The Community Development Department is requesting approval of a petition for the formation of the Farm Road 93 Community Improvement District, otherwise known as a CID. On August 27th of 2024, we received a resolution authorizing the city administrator to work with the developer on a draft of the CID petition for the purpose of promoting investment in the city of Republic. Subsequently, the Community Development Department received a petition for the creation of the Farm Road 93 Community Improvement District for the contiguous properties owned by O.R. Shamrock Richards, LLC, generally described as the following. Located southwest of the intersection of U.S. Highway 60 and North Oakwood Avenue, generally bounded on the west and north by U.S. Highway 60, on the east by North Oakwood Avenue, and on the south by a line extending west from Farm Road 174, but excluding parcels currently occupied by McCormick Auto Repair. The intent of the CID is to promote future retail development within the area and encourage investment in the city. The CID will fund infrastructure for the project, including a new public street, stormwater, and underground utility infrastructure. The Missouri State Statute, Section 67.1401 to 67.1571, authorizes the governing body of a municipality upon petition requesting the formation and after a public hearing to adopt an ordinance establishing a CID. The CID petition includes the following parameters. These have been reviewed by city staff as well as city legal and outside counsel. The CID is governed by a board of directors consisting of 5 members. The CID is requesting to impose a sales tax of 1%. The term of the CID shall be 27 years from the date of approval of the ordinance authorizing the CID. The district has until June 30th, 2025 to execute a developer's agreement and/or cooperation agreement with the city. The CID is proposing the extension of Republic Commons to the north from its existing terminus near Panda Express, east to intersect with North Oakwood Avenue. The details of the location of the new public street and associated infrastructure will be outlined in a preliminary plat that you will see later in the year. The preliminary plat has been scheduled for review by the Planning and Zoning Commission. Following the approval of the preliminary plat, infrastructure plans will be submitted to the city for review, which will detail a scope for the work of the developer's agreement, including the construction of all required infrastructure. The developer's agreement will require final approval by City Council, and staff is recommending approval.
Thank you, Ms. Haynes. Do we have any questions from council?
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Neal.
a question that not directly related to this, but Farm Road 174, are we looking at extending that at any point, or is that just a future? I realize it's not part of this plan.
Yes,
but
it is not a part of this plan, but in coordination with the construction of this development, the city will be taking on that extension to intersect with North Oakwood Avenue and West Farm Road 174. So there will be a connection there in the future.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Perky.
I know this will come back in to get reviewed, and so project costs, all those will be finalized when it comes back in.
Yes, they do have some preliminary costs associated with the development and their 5-year plan and the petition itself. But we will have the entire scope once the preliminary plot is approved, and then the designer starts working on the infrastructure plans for development.
And on the infrastructure plans, that's overseen by the city or the developer. How does that work?
Typically, it is a private contractor. If we do enter into a developer's agreement with the developer, we essentially will act as a contractor constructing the road, and then also any water, sewer, and stormwater improvements associated with the development. City staff or build staff actually will also inspect the infrastructure just like a typical subdivision. And then we will have a final platting, which creates the dedication of the infrastructure and then creates the lots themselves within the subdivision.
Thank you.
Chris.
What happens to the those 3 residences sitting right there? Will they be bought out and bulldozed over?
Those are part of the CID. I believe the developer is planning to demo those homes at some point in the future.
Because the location at 1167, did he not have a annexation here recently to be inside city?
Yes, that was an outstanding parcel that was not in the city. We did annex that into the city. We had a subsequent rezone not that long ago. So it is now in the city and zoned. But I do believe that they intend to demo those homes as part of the overall development plan.
Thank you, Ms. Haynes. Do we have any additional questions from council?
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Cameron.
just a comment regarding Mr. Gerke's question is, this looked very similar in the development agreement to what we did with Andy's to create those lots behind those properties. So that's pretty much the same developer's agreement that you'll see come back. It looked very similar.
Thank you, Mr. Cameron. Any more questions from council? Seeing that there is none, remember to get with staff if you have any additional questions before our next meeting. Moving on to new business and second reading of ordinances. Item number 15. I need a motion and a second for the second reading of Bill 24-57 by title only, please.
Motion.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All of those in favor?
Aye.
All of those opposed? Are there any abstentions? Motion carries 6-0-0. Laura will read the ordinance by title, please.
An ordinance of the City Council approving the final plat of Wilson's Valley Phase 2 subdivision.
Does council have any additional questions or discussion before we move on to final passage? Seeing that there is none, I now need a motion and a second for the final passage of Bill 24-57, please.
Motion.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Now going to take a roll call vote on our computers. Motion carries 6-0-0. Moving on to item number 16. I need a motion and a second for the second reading of Bill 24-58 by title only, please.
Motion.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All of those in favor?
Aye.
All of those opposed? Are there any abstentions? Motion carries 6-0-0. Laura will read the ordinance by title, please.
An ordinance of the City Council vacating approximately 1,920 square feet of right-of-way along East Green Tree Street, VACA 24002.
Thank you, Laura. Does council have any questions or discussion before moving on to final passage? Seeing that there is none, I now need a motion and a second for the final passage of Bill 24-58, please.
Motion.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Now going to take a roll call vote on our computers. Motion carries 6-0-0. Moving on to item number 17. I need a motion and a second for the second reading of Bill 24-59 by title only, please.
Motion.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All of those in favor?
Aye.
All of those opposed? Are there any abstentions? Motion carries 6-0-0. Laura will read the ordinance by title, please.
An ordinance of the City Council vacating approximately 3,586 square feet of right-of-way along East Green Tree Street, VACA 24003.
Thank you, Laura. Does council have any questions or discussion before moving on to final passage? Seeing that there is none, I now need a motion and a second for the final passage of Bill 24-59, please.
Motion. Second.
Got a motion and a second. Now going to take a roll call vote on our computer. Motion carries 6-0-0. Moving on to other business and resolutions. Item number 18, 24-R-46, a resolution of the City Council authorizing an amendment to the city's employee benefit program to the Missouri Local Government Employees Retirement System, or loggers. I now need a motion and a second to take up resolution 24-R-46, please.
Motion. Second.
Got a motion and a second, and we've got Miss Addington here to give us an overview this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Lisa Addington, Chief of Staff. So where we're at tonight, and you'll see the current versus the proposed plan in front of you this evening. As you'll recall, Bob Ford and I gave kind of an overview at the June council workshop that we went into a little bit more detail on what the L6 plan will provide. Then Bob brought a resolution August 27th, and that was to get approval to actually post our financials. That was the next step in the process. We had to post our financials for 45 days. That period has now been satisfied. So this resolution before you this evening is to actually adopt, this is the final step, for the city to adopt the loggers L6 plan from L3. There will be an effective date of 1/1/25 for this change, and it will be included in the budget, the 2025 budget. The financial information has been included in your packets, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Staff does recommend approval.
Thank you, Miss Addington. Do we have any questions from council? Mr. Gerke.
So the main, I know we talked about this previously, but the main purpose is to make this more competitive to the other city agencies around us, correct?
Yes, yes. It will help not only with recruitment, but retention as well.
Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Gerke. Any additional questions from council? Seeing that there is none, and as this is a resolution, we can call this immediately for a vote. All of those in favor?
Aye.
All of those opposed? Are there any abstentions? Motion carries 6-0-0. Moving on to reports from staff. Mr. Cameron.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I don't want to take a long time tonight, but there's a lot to cover in this report. Just sitting in this meeting, we go through it pretty fast and sometimes wonder what's going on, and we've had a lot of stuff done. I want to thank the staff and the work of the investors. Kyle, I know you've worked on that property for a long time, and you've been, since the day I got to town, you're just trying to like, hey, I just want to do something by the community. Yeah, and so I know you've worked hard to get to that point. Staff, I want to thank you for working through that process, because I know we've had lots of discussions. But I admire the fact that you're investing and doing business in the community. I see my grill people here that take very good care of me at their store. So thank you for your investment as well. Curtis, I appreciate the work that you're doing. I know we've worked with you and David on your property behind there, trying to build this street, doing that for a year and a half now, and you're always looking for commercial lots. So I thank you for that work, and then to Stu to see all the work on the developments that we're doing with Wilson's Valley. So there's a lot going on in Republic, but to staff to sit there and rezone the entire downtown and Laura to read it, I think sometimes we just glaze over that because it is very long, but that is a material change that was done tonight to get to that point. Just to, we work on processes, relationships, and trust to make it easier and better, but I think sometimes, even myself, I'm amazed just watching how you navigate through it. And Chris, you just become a master at explaining your stuff extremely well. So I appreciate and watch and admire the growth. But just to see, the L6, thank you for the L6 change. Again, I don't know, I know the staff know the material nature of that, but an L3 to an L6 is a substantial change for our employees. And I want to thank the voters, because had it not been for what they did as well in 19 to help with the retirement benefit of the city, this would not even be possible. So it is a material change that makes this not just competitive, but I think it was without a doubt the right thing to do by the employees that have served and done a very good job for this community. And I just appreciate this council's support for doing that. To Christina and them, they left. I admire this individual, to know, if you understood where she was the only employee of the city that was in animal control. And being by the wastewater plant, no one's going to see it. You see growth and development on KY3, you see the Business Journal, but you're not going to see Shelter of the Year. And I think that the Shelter of the Year talks about you do the little things right, even on those things. They ought to be celebrated just like all the other development and things that are going on in this community. And so I love the fact that she faced the staff and the crowd to do it. It's like it's just who she is, but she persevered through some pretty thin times. You were asked to be like, David, you weren't impressed with the old shelter? And again, to the voters in 2017 that provided us the funding, we asked, and they rose to the challenge. So this is an award that they actually put some significant investment to build that facility. To the mayor and council that went to the OTO legislative breakfast the other day, it was great to see great representation. It was great that we got to be presenters at that event as well. But there's a lot going on with I-44. It gets overlooked. But I-44 widening is a major win for this region. It is a significant push. And people are like, well, they got all the money on that. We're still working on MM. What's going to happen is that's just going to continue to open the I-44 corridor to the MM corridor, and it'll continue to funnel our way as well. So we're big supporters of what's going on in the region, and big supporters of what has taken place. What is it? $500 million is estimated to be the total work. Yeah, and anybody driving to St. Louis know that it's kind of there's a lot of stretch that needs to be taken care of. And so anyway, just want to thank everybody for going to that. And thank you to Lowe's. I see this, Dwayne, in your report. The Lowe's has donated over $1,300 to our local fire department to do things. I think Lowe's sometimes it gets overlooked in business and development. All of our businesses contributed, but they're always very active in the community and giving money and support, and I just appreciate that. We are working on another bit. Those that remember the Republic video, we worked with Kirk Cook to create one. We are actually creating one for the development community now that we're going to be sending out, not just locally, but into the different markets throughout the U.S. to market and showcase Republic as opportunities to grow. We're looking forward to rolling that video out. That will be 3 minutes, a 5 minute, and a 7 minute segment that we can use to different. So those of us that are investing and looking can share that with everybody that you want. Budget workshop, be prepared for October 29th. And we also have one on November 12th where I always love to talk about water rates. So quite a long report, but I appreciate this staff. I appreciate this council, what this community is doing, and just the continued support of the development side, but also the support of the staff. And that's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Cameron. Do we have any reports from council? Chris?
Even though our shelter won a state award, it's also reminded that Fanning's Pet Care over on 174 also won Veterinarian of the Year, who our Animal Control Center uses also.
Awesome. Thank you. Must be something in the water. Any other reports from council? You like that one? No more reports from council. Thank you, Mr. Cameron. Thank you, council. Thank you, Chris. Yeah, a lot of great things going on in Republic. So I'd like to thank the police department for having the coffee the cop the other morning. You know, citizens would come down and visit with the cops. They give us an opportunity to come down and discuss with them, have coffee. I got to have biscuits and gravy. So any morning that starts out the day, it's a great day. So thank you for coming out to that. But I did have one question. I didn't get to make it to the game on Saturday night, and I was curious of who won. Was it the... Okay. Gotcha. Well, I didn't want to bring up a bad subject, but I was curious, so...
I think they won by what? I think they won by like 20.
Oh, closer.
20 to 19, right? So thank you for having that. I'm sorry I didn't get to make it to that. I had it on my list, but life gets the better of us sometimes. This is the Guns and Hoses, if anyone's curious of what I'm talking about, but the police department and the fire department played a game of softball together, raising money for Shop with a Cop program. So great program. Sorry I missed that, but sounds like there was a fun time that was had, at least by some. OTO Legislative Breakfast, great job, Mr. Cameron, on presenting Republic to the region. Anytime you get to sit there and you see Republic up on stage, especially when it's the level that Mr. Cameron brings that presentation on, was excellent. So I really appreciate getting to hang out with staff. We got to have a council member there as well. So anytime any of you are interested in the OTO board meetings, those board meetings are also on, I know they put them on Facebook Live so that you can watch those live. You can go to their website and find the agendas for those meetings, and they're open to the public, so by any means. And they occur, it's not exact, maybe it is monthly. I can't remember on my schedule if it's monthly, but about every month. We'll see it when it pops up. Congratulations once again to Animal Control Center. I know that was a lot of hard work, keeping those promises to the voters again, and having that shelter to look at. I know some shelters are, you know, probably better, but with our team that's in there and everything that they're doing in there in that building, it's absolutely amazing to see the progress that they've made since I've been here. Pumpkin Days was absolutely awesome. I just really appreciate all of the efforts from staff. Everyone I saw out there did a great job, from the police, the fire department, the people picking up the trash, the Parks and Recs department. I was just really impressed. Really enjoyed being out there both of those days and having that fall festival and finally getting that taste of fall. It was hot that day, so it's kind of hard to be in that mood, but when you got the smells of the hot dogs and the kettle corn and you get to see the pumpkins and all the good stuff going on with the Kiwanis Festival as well, it really made for a special weekend. Had a lot of great feedback from people coming to town to visit that, and so I'm really appreciative of having that to put on for citizens and for everyone here in Republic. Other than that, I just wish that everyone would have a great evening. It's going to be a little bit chilly tonight, so